Hey everybody, Ray here, and in 3.25 melee was buffed, as you already know, and I couldn't be happier. Now we can create many suddenly viable melee builds and also update existing ones, such as my CLEAVE Berserker League starter. I created a very detailed guide for it in the previous league. It handholds you through all the steps of early progression, starting from Act 1 to early maps and Watchstones. Check it out, it will be in the description and in the pinned comment. But with the removal of totems, 3 changes, banners and rage rework, the power has significantly shifted. And it is now time to update the build, to make CLEAVE the best version of itself. I have changed a lot of things in this update, addressing main challenges, which is first of all tankiness. The build now is much tankier, with much better defenses and more protective layers. I have also addressed new rage and money issues, especially while leveling. So in this video I'm going to showcase path of building changes and talk about improvements, answering possible questions and challenges. If you need a step-by-step playthrough, please check the previous one. Please check the timestamps in the video, since I have a lot of them for you, just to answer most of your questions. And let's go. So first question is what happens with our AoE. Since range is pretty much changed, some people are afraid that AoE of Rage of CLEAVE is going to be worse. However, I can definitely assure you that we will be able to get almost the same amount of Rage again. So right now in my updated build, I have 94 Rage instead of 100 Rage that I had before. And I'm sure that 94 and 100, the difference in AoE will be so small, it will be hard to even notice that. So, second question comes on top of that. Can we consider the whole rate change a buff? And yeah, I can definitely assure you we can consider it a buff, because we're going to receive more damage instead of increased damage with rage right now. We're also still receiving attack speed, since Crave the Slaughter and the Berserker are going to pretty much help us with it. And another cool part, since right now we can generate so much rage per one hit, it will be much easier to keep Berserker always up. Berserker itself lost some bonuses, but it's still going to help us with damage tremendously. And generally, I could definitely confirm that all rate changes are a buff. So talking about tankiness, a lot of people know that aspect of the Carnage is pretty much a significant ability for the Berserker, because we are receiving more damage, but we are taking more damage as well. It's usually lower tankiness. So tankiness is one of the biggest questions that we need to figure out for the Berserker. And in my updated Rage of CLEAVE build version, I figured out pretty decently. So right here on the screen you can see my tankiness, effective hit pool, phase max hit, fire max hit, cold max hit and lightning max hit without molten shell applied, so just like a basic tankiness. And I think those numbers are pretty decent since my items are very basic and I'm level 91. So if we will go here and pretty much activate Molten Shell, we are going to see even better items. And uptime of the Molten Shell together with more duration will be pretty decent too. However, even without Molten Shell, the numbers are pretty alright. Look, we also have 100% spell suppression, and together with it, 68% of block chance, and spell block chance up to 53%, which is absolutely awesome, and I'm sure that new Berserker is going to survive so good. Another pretty much important question is how good is new block for all the melee builds, and I'm sure the new block is just like absolutely amazing. Because they added so many little nodes here, such as Wall of Steel, for example, that I'm taking, that can give you some armor and that can give you a lot of additional block. Also, as the Mountain, for example, is just absolutely awesome too. And we can get so much block just because Versatile Combatant is just amazing now too. It helps us a lot to stack our spell block chance, and it will help the build to survive much better in almost all situations. Another pretty much important question, how we are getting our charges, because right now endurance charges are heavily buffed, and endurance charges themselves are pretty much important for survivability. So we have a lot of cool techniques to get the charges, and mostly we just base it on block. Since we are using dual wield, we're pretty much using the Swagger. It gives us 25% chance to gain a frenzied charge when we block. I think it will happen pretty often, especially when we are mapping, but even when we are fighting bosses are still hitting us. And with 70% of block chance and 53 spell block chance, we are going to block consistently. That pretty much will lead to us receiving frenzy charges too. And second part is endurance charges from deflection. Because we don't have a shield, but look, 25% chance to get an endurance charge when you block, and you don't need a shield for it. So you can spend only 2 points and they will give you 25% chance to get endurance charge when you are blocking, which I think is absolutely awesome. And it's going to help. Another cool tag that we can get is 100% increased charge duration. Since we are getting charges only from block, 100% increased charge duration is just going to help us to have charges more often. And on top of that, we can also get Disciple of the Unyielding for 8% chance to get endurance charge on kill, and that way it will be easier to have endurance even while we are mapping and nothing can hit us properly. Both of the techniques together are going to improve both damage through frenzy charge access and durability through endurance charge access. I think it's going to work absolutely great. Another important part that happens in the current patch. PoB added loadouts. So right now you don't need to change 3 simultaneously anymore. You just can click up there and change the whole loadout at the same time for any set that you like. It will also change configuration set as well. So that way we can configure builds for a pretty particular condition. And it's definitely going to help you, so please use it. It's just an awesome feature. Moving forward, another thing I want to comment on is pretty much a leveling setup. I have everything lined on, so for example, all the skills lined on here, you will be able to change in supports, for example, and what you will need to pick. So it's pretty much goes the same with the weapons and items overall. I do not provide a proper items for anything lower than maps because you're going to play with stuff from the ground. And just read my comments because my comments are here to help you to understand what you need to pick. So for example, you need to look for movement speed boots, or you need to take random physical access and swords at the start. Like from level 31, you're going to start using 2 access and so on and so on and so on. It goes up to level 91, so just change the loadout right here and you will be able to see everything up. So another interesting question, how we are going to solve mana. So right here at level 31, I already got mana solved. And a pretty important part is to go here for Spiritual War new node early. Because Spiritual War is going to give you physical attack damage leached as mana. And it's going to help you tremendously because otherwise you'll have almost no mana. Even if we will consider it like lower amount of leech, because you can leech only like 13 mana, for example, and you have more mana regeneration, it's still going to help you. Another thing, it's pretty much a mana mastery. Mana mastery can give you 5 mana per second, which is very good. And another important part that you need to keep in mind, so you will need to use clarity, at least while you don't have better items. So for example, if from level 31 we will move for level 54, for example, right? Don't forget to repick the cleave. As you can see at level 54, you will have 94 mana leech on hit. It will be pretty much enough to cover your mana cost because you have only 20 mana cost per second right here, as you can see. So it will work alright. And at that moment, you can pretty much drop the clarity. As you can see, it's not here. I'm showcasing all of those in the setup, so check out the moment when I'm dropping the clarity. And you can pretty much just follow my example. However, at level 31, it's very important. So just going for Spiritual War, and clarity is going to help you a lot. Another cool tip, and it's pretty much the best early leveling unique that you can get, is Slither Pinch. I recommend to get Slither Pinch as early as possible, so like possibly from level 27, because Slither Pinch is going to provide you physical attack damage leached as life and physical attack damage leached as mana. It also gives you attack speed and dexterity, so it's a very awesome item. If you can get it, definitely get it. However, even if you will get rid of Slither Pinch, as you can see, we still have some mana leech and some life leech. Moving forward for level 37, for example, you will be able to get life leech from Lust for Carnage and mana leech from Spiritual War. So if you will not have Slither Pinch, it's alright. However, if you can't get them, another question is how to get good damage while leveling. It's a very important part, so don't forget to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your axes. Just try to pick the best ones with my recommendation. So as you can see, my recommendation right here is just like upgrade your axe, look for physical and attack speed. So pretty much do that. At least until you will hit higher levels when you will be able to use regular savagery or Varunastra, which is going to help you too. Another important part is how to get Fortify. I think Fortify is very important for higher level survivability, but I recommend to get it only at the 5 link, from level 75 and then you will reach like early maps. So from level 75 we're receiving Fortify gem and we are going to use it to pretty much get the Fortify. For Rage Cleave build, I do not recommend to go for the Steadfast at the moment. It's a pretty cool node to be honest, but I think it's easier to get a Fortify gem because the build itself is like very point hungry, and we need points to boost our damage, to boost our different things like defenses. I would recommend to just go for the gem, at least around level 70 or something close to it. There's also one cool new node to fix your armor issues, and it's going to help you tremendously. I have it from level 75 setup. It's pretty much Vengeance, because for example, look, if you're using the setup with Rage, Vengeance is going to provide you with 20k armor. And I'm not kidding, because you have a crazy amount of rage, close to like 100, you're going to receive a lot of armor because of that. And by itself, it's a huge multiplier and it should help you a lot with your effective hit pool and stuff like that. Another question is how we are capping our suppress. So at level 90, when we have a Watchstone setup, I have spell suppression capped, as you can see. That's a very important part. So generally we just need to take 4 suppress nodes here and pretty much try to roll suppress everywhere on the items. You don't need a perfect tier. For example, as you can see right here, I have only 18% on my body armor, but it's still recommended. And suppress is going to provide you with significant amount of effective hit pool, so try to get it on and it should be 100%. I also have Inveterate allocated on the amulet, because that's a very cool node. However, if you don't have Inveterate, there's a way how you can cap the suppress to get like 15%. You can just put 3 points here to Courage. Courage is going to give you 15% chance to suppress spell damage if you hit enemy recently. And since you're hitting enemies, well, all the time, you're going to have that suppress. So if you don't have a golden oil, if it's just like too early for you, you can try to just use Courage. So another important part to capping your suppress is pretty much getting last 6% as an implicit on gloves. You can get 6% chance to suppress spell damage on gloves as an implicit. You can just roll Eater of Worlds here. And it's definitely recommended when you're searching for Watchstones and you need your suppress capped. So look into that bonus on gloves and it's going to help you for sure. Another important question is pretty much our rage management. Since we are playing Berserker, we can have at least 6 rage per every hit. So when we are hitting enemy, we are receiving 1 per passive right here, 1 per passive right here, so it's 2, 3 per cleave of rage, so it's 5, and at least 1 per passive right here, so it's 6. We're also receiving 3 rage when we are hit by an enemy, even if we are blocking the hit, which is pretty important. That way, we can hit with our skill like Cleave of Rage at least 4 times per second. And that way we're going to receive more than 20 of our rage per second too. So I recommend to just constantly mash Berserk. Because even if we are going to lose 5 rage per second, we are going to be alright. We're generating so much rage. So I definitely recommend to just use your Berserk at almost all times. And mash it constantly on bosses, mash it constantly while you're just like kicking maps, and uptime is going to be very good. Another important part, how to solve our life regeneration issue. I wouldn't say it's a big issue, to be honest. Most of the time we're just solving it with Leech when we're attacking. But we are going to receive damage for at least 2 more seconds when we are not attacking. So that's about like minus 200 of life. It's definitely alright, however, I recommend to take at least that passive for regenerating life per second per endurance charge to feel a little better. If you will feel like it's absolutely necessary for you to stop losing life completely, I recommend to go for Hearty. Hearty can give you 200 life regeneration and it's going to help that issue overall. However, you can also roll some life regeneration on your items. For example, you can roll it on helmets, for example, you can roll it on body armor. I do not recommend that, however, it's definitely an option. And you can roll some on boots as well. So all that together can help you to regenerate a little better. However, I still think it's not that necessary, even if you will lose like 200 of life. Another important part is pretty much how we are countering the stuns. Our build could be stunned and it could be a little bit an issue. There's a few options for it, but the most straightforward and basic one, I just recommend to roll chance to avoid being stunned on your flask. So Quicksilver Flask is working perfectly for it. It's going to be up at almost all times and it's going to help you to manage those stuns in almost all situations. If you feel like it, you can even go for Unwavering stance, but I think losing 2 points is just not worth it at the moment. Another important part is what's up with the War Banner. I think War Banner right now is a pretty strong bonus because it can give you up to 20% of damage. In my configuration, I have only 30 Valor. Valor can go up to 50, but I use 30 because it's just kinda in the middle, and it will be more achievable at the moment. I still recommend to use War Banner at almost all boss fights, or if you're encountering tough rares. And I think it's going to be a very cool multiplier and it's going to help you. I mean, War Banner currently feels like a new totem, so you definitely need to use it when you have enough Valor. Another important question is what uniques are important for later on progression. The most important unique when you're joining early maps, it's pretty much Rigveld Savagery. Rigveld Savagery is just amazing for the build. It provides attack speed, it provides physical attack damage while dual wielding, and the most important part, it gives you maximum rage. And we're benefiting so much from rage right now, both from AoE, attack speed, and damage. So try to get Rigveld Savagery as fast as possible. Another good option for high levels is pretty much Varunastra. It could be kinda expensive, however it's an awesome sword, just because it counts as all one-handed melee weapon types. You can use rare sword or rare axe if you don't have Varunastra. However, Varunastra itself can provide tremendous amount of damage and it's definitely recommended to use it. Also, if you're using CLEAVE Rage right here, you don't have a lot of options and you will need to use axe and a sword. So that way, sword is absolutely necessary for that part. And I really recommend Varunastra. Another very important item that you can get from level 68 is Burst Girdle. Because Burst Girdle is going to provide you maximum rage too and is going to give you increased physical damage per 10 rage. All the bonuses like very cool, so try to get the Girdle as soon as possible too, because it's going to improve your damage significantly. As you can see, it provides me about 40% of my whole damage, which is absolutely insane, from a pretty basic item. If you're playing solo self-found, you can just go and pretty much farm it yourself, because it drops pretty often in Harvest. Another important question is when to exchange to CLEAVE Rage. So I recommend to exchange to CLEAVE Rage only between level 75 and level 90. So it's closer to higher maps and stuff like that. Closer to your last ascendancy, because CLEAVE Rage is not providing you with that big of a bonus. It's still a pretty decent skill because it's going to give you rage, it's going to help you with AoE and stuff like that. However, I do not recommend to try to get it earlier, because it's definitely more like a map thing. Doing it in X is pretty much a waste of time. Another important part is how to improve your damage when you are closing on the endgame. Important part here is just to make sure that you have your charges, so Swagger, Deflection is going to help you with that, and getting good uniques especially Varunastra and Berserk is going to help you too. You can also use such cool things like Flask, for example, lines, or could be pretty nice. So all of that is going to help you with your damage. Also, don't forget to use both your banner and the Berserk. And another important question is what to do after level 90. After level 90, you will need to go for more charges. So just proceeding further, I would recommend to do something like that for level 96. I'm probably going to add it to Path of Exile too. So just the tree itself. Because Endurance Charge is going to provide you with a little damage, but with more survivability. And Frenzy Charge is going to provide you with damage. On top of that, you're going to receive Juggle Socket, and you will be able to start juggling. Another option is pretty much dropping those 2 points, Life and Mana Leech, and using the rest of the points to pretty much go and get a Cluster Juggle. So for level 97 it would look like that. That way you can get Feed the Fury, you can get Fuse the Fight if it's necessary at level 99, or a little less if you get rid of a few points in the tree. And that's pretty much could be a very decent goal. So getting Cluster with Feed the Fury, Fuse the Fight and Martial Progress is definitely going to help you with both damage and quality of life. So another important question is pretty much how we're getting our Culling Strike, because Culling Strike is going to make your life easier, especially against bosses. So generally we have Culling Strike together with a Lip Slam. Since Lip Slam is doing damage, you just need to leap at the enemy and pretty much kill it with Lip Slam. It's not that smooth, however it's a great tech how you can get Culling Strike, however, because we can't get it on totems anymore. That way it's probably the best way currently to get it without adding additional layers. And the last question is pretty much how to move faster. Since we're already using the Lip Slam, we can combine it with the Frost Blink. So if you don't know about that, you can cancel the Lip Slam animation with the Frost Blink while you're like in the mid-air. And you can just click the Frost Blink at the moment and animation will be cancelled. With that combination, it's probably the best way to move. So try to do that and it will be easier for you to just run through the maps. So I also want to comment on what we are doing with the Bandits and what gods are we using. So the first question is the Bandits. I honestly think that helping Alira is absolutely cool right now, because you're receiving 15 to all elemental resistances for only 1 passive point. I think in some cases it's even better than it's been before, especially if you don't need a lot of critical strike multiplier. So I still recommend to help Alira, because I think it's going to help you with balancing your resistances. And talking about the gods, I think Major God is always a Brine King of most of my builds, because just getting chance to avoid being frozen is so important. Try to get it as fast as possible, and it's definitely helping. Another cool part is pretty much a protection against stuns, which could be nice too. And Minor God, I honestly think that Garhan is probably the best option, because we need some way to counter shock, and also cannot be blinded and cannot be mated, especially cannot be blinded, is a pretty cool thing, which is going to help you, especially in the endgame when you can be blinded. So that's been my updated Rage CLEAVE Berserker build. I think right now it's in a very good position, the build is very strong, the tankiness heavily raised, and I would say we don't have issues with AoE, the build will feel fast and pretty strong in almost all cases. Thank you very much for watching, feel free to subscribe for more content, and I hope you enjoy the guide. See you next time.